Hey, art friends. I'm Miss Perez, and I'm the art teacher over at Centennial Elementary School. And I'll be your online art teacher this year alongside with Mr. Willyerd, who's over at HTA. I'm so stoked to be here on your online art journey and create art with you this year. That reminds me, there's some stuff that's been sitting in my mailbox, and I need to go check it. It's been sitting there all fall break, and I have a feeling that there might be some really neat stuff in there today. Let's go check it out. Check the mailbox. It's a postcard from the chickens.
Postcards from chickens, searching the world to find out. Postcards from chickens, hope we get a letter today.
From the chickens. Well, it looks like we got a postcard from the chickens. It's pretty cool. This is New York Fashion Week. Interesting. And check that out. That's a new thing. I'll be honest, these letters are always really hard to read. Their handwriting is terrible. I mean, it's chicken scratch. It is chicken scratch, so whatever. All right, here we go.
Dear Miss Perez, greetings from New York. We have just finished a whirlwind visit to New York where we got to see the inspiring visions of Fashion Week. So many beautiful and unique creations that show inspiration from the world all around us in this crazy time. All the bold colors, floral designs, for spring, and many other things I would never, ever dream of wearing, ever, like feathers.
Oh, feathers. That must have been interesting.
Who would ever do such a thing except in a natural way? Hope this postcard finds you well and inspires your students to look at what's around their world too. Your fashionable friends, the chickens.
Fashionable friends. They are pretty fashionable. Those feathers. They're inspiring fashion. It's pretty cool. I think it looks pretty cool. Well, it's interesting because fashion does really express a lot of what's going on around us right now. And sometimes it's put together in such a way that we see these really interesting combinations. A lot of artists and art designers, fashion designers, all sorts of people are totally intrigued by the things that we see around us. So maybe we talk fashion design first. And there is actually a really cool artist I would love to share with you today. He's awesome. And I think you guys might find it pretty inspiring too. All right, let's talk fashion design and the world as seen by Rudy Willingham, who is not a fashion designer, but an artist whom I'll introduce you to later. But first, let's talk fashion design. Fashion design is the art of applying design, aesthetics, and natural beauty to clothing and its accessories. This isn't lost on us. We all wear clothes. A lot of us carry a backpack or some sort of bag to school. We also use all sorts of other types of accessories such as hats, sunglasses, shoes, and things that we wear on our wrists and hands. All of this is influenced by our culture and our social attitudes. And a lot of this is varied over the time and place depending on where we live, right? So here's the thing. Fashion is for everyone. The time and the world around a designer or an artist has always been an inspiration for what to wear. Now, maybe we don't quite dress like the guys up here on the top, or the ladies also, but if you look at what they're wearing, everything is very significant to where they were in the world and the time period in which they lived in. So it made sense. Maybe it doesn't make sense for us, but in a lot of ways, their fashion has actually influenced the fashion that we wear today. Fashion designers usually are creative. They are usually pretty chic in their thinking as far as what they want to design for others, and they have unique imaginations from which their ideas come from. So if you look, a lot of these pairings are very interesting. On the left, we have this woman wearing this very geometrically inspired sweater that has all these different sorts of details and different colors that are muted together. but yet we see those same sorts of colors in her skirt, which is very ruffled, very feminine, has all these florals on it, and it's paired together with this sweater. And if you look at her earrings even, they're asymmetrical, which means they're not balanced. They're not exactly the same on both sides. One is definitely longer than the other, and that's also a style or a fashion. The design here in the middle is this pantsuit that's belted together here in the center, and it mimics something that looks like a fence or a very geometric pattern. Maybe you've seen something like that in math, but maybe the lines are a little bit cleaner. She also is wearing a mask, which tells us this is a very contemporary design because this is pretty common everywhere we look now. Also, her hat matches exactly, so everything is very uniform and it's very much all the same. Then we have our other picture over here where it looks kind of like this jumpsuit that's also very poofy sleeved, and it's all denim, which that's a lot of denim to wear everywhere. Typically, we don't always wear denim like pants with denim tops or denim jackets, and in this case, everything has that aesthetic to it. You can see all the stitching just like you would on a pair of jeans, and it crisscrosses in all sorts of directions where the seams are very, very obvious, where in our other pieces, it's not nearly as obvious. To be a fashion designer, though, isn't just good at making clothes or just liking them. A lot of them are very much into art, so that those influences that we saw earlier are very pertinent, which also means that they have to study art history. They aren't just good at colors or knowing what they are, they actually know how to put them in the right spots or the places or to mix them together. They also have to know a lot of math. If you look at the woman's picture over here, she's wearing a tape measure, which means she has to know how to use measurement so that your clothes actually fit the right way. There's a lot of science involved because you have to understand the way that maybe different dyes or colors are used. And business is always a plus, especially if you're selling your stuff. But what I've noticed the most in a lot of clothing, especially the three images that we saw earlier, is texture. And even in stuff in art history. Texture is the way something feels, the way it looks, or even just the way it feels on a surface or a substance. So even in this picture, on the far left side, we have these like trees, and that would look like a texture because it's a type of a surface. It creates some sort of botanical look or something that's just very nature feeling or a lot of plants. On the right-hand side, it's a little bit more blurred, but we have a variety of textiles where you can see a lot of geometric patterning with stripes and colors mixed and matched together, or a lot of A-B patterning. And even the person in the center here, even though they're covered by this large block of text, this crocheted piece has a lot of texture as well. If you've ever felt a doily, or maybe you've had a sweater, or if you even crocheted something yourself, that also has texture. Everything has a texture. So from the plants to the textiles on the other side to this crocheted piece, everything, the whole world around us has a variety of textures. Everything you touch has a variety of textures. Which brings me to our artist that we're going to focus on, Rudy Willingham. While he lives in Seattle in the Washington area, and while he's worked in advertising before, he now works in social media marketing. He has an Instagram account, a Twitter account, and he has all sorts of pieces that he shows on there, mostly because he came up with a campaign that was rejected, and so he decided to do it himself. And now his images are seen everywhere, and he gets to decide how he uses them and who he puts them in, or who he puts in his images. So often his signature, though, are these cutouts filled with the scenery behind it. So in this picture, you see that he's trimmed out the hair, and he's using this garden as his background with merely just a camera as his piece of art supply. So let's talk about his work a little bit. The first thing are cutouts. Willingham removes what we call in art the positive space. Positive space is usually like the person in the picture, or in this case, he's removed the jacket from the gentleman, and he's removed the part of the woman's shape of her dress. This positive space, and he changes it to what would normally or it would traditionally be. So in this case, a wedding dress is often seen as white and has now been replaced by a field of tulips. Often men, when they get married, they also match whomever it is that they're marrying, and in this case, the jacket matches her dress. Here in the background, We've become so accustomed to picking out clothes based on solid colors or dominant colors, right? But in this case, Willingham uses a whole background as a means to create clothing for an image. We're usually just used to sticking the background in the background. But if you've noticed, a lot of his pieces, they're very simple so that what he chooses for his cutout stands out more. Even the sky in this image, in this case, is used to fill in the hair and sunglasses of a particular image. How cool could you say that your hair was the color of the sky? This one I really like because there's a theme. He's even created images that have this thematic feel to them depending on who the image is about. So in this case, this football player comes from a team that is familiar to the area that Willingham lives in, which is Seattle. It's the Seahawks. And if you can see from behind him, you can see the image of the logo in his jersey along with the crowd and the colors that are also synonymous with the Seahawks, which is blue and green. So the person being depicted in this picture is placed before an image that's related to the content. It's a football field, football stadium, football player. So do you have any good ideas about some interesting textures that you've seen before? Maybe some ideas that you'd like to see on clothing if you were a designer, but maybe didn't want to have to worry about drawing things or designing the pattern. Rudy Willingham pulls ideas from all sorts of places that he looks at differently than maybe what we would normally look. So that way when we miss those things, because we don't stop to smell the roses, or I guess in this case, wear them. These are also not roses, but still, very, very cool. So take a look at this image. What do you notice about it? What do you notice he uses? What does he keep? What does he subtract? Would you do the same? Or would you do something different? I want to leave you though with these really cool words that I found in an article about Willingham. It's something that they asked him if he was to give advice to anybody. And his advice was be different. If everyone's thinking alike, then no one's thinking. Sometimes in art, we get caught up with those people who are really good at things. Rudy Willingham is really good at what he does. But I bet that if you gave it a shot, you could put your own spin on it. So I've got a great idea. I think we're going to call up Mr. Willyerd and we're going to meet him for a field trip. I think we need to try this. I think we need to see if this is possible even around here. Yeah, we don't live in Seattle, but I think it's worth trying. What do you think? Let's go find out. Mr. Willyerd is late again.
Did somebody say Mr. Willyerd?
Hi, Mr. Willyerd.
Hi, Miss Perez.
So did you look at the artist I told you about?
I did. I totally love Rudy Willingham. He's amazing. He inspired me to create some awesome cutouts for us to check out some awesome fashion inspiration.
Sweet. Let's go inside and check out some textures.
Okay.
And so Mr. Willyerd and Miss Perez set off to find inspiration in the world around them and emulate the art of Rudy Willingham. Here are a few of the amazing inspirational designs they found.
Well, that was super awesome, you guys. I'm so glad you were able to come out with us on our art adventure today. For next week's lesson with Mr. Willyerd, he's going to need you to gather up a couple of things so that you're prepared for the lesson. The first thing is going to be a fashion model picture. It can be from a magazine or a printout, and Mr. Willyerd will also provide some printable templates too, just in case you need them. Sometimes it's hard to find what you're looking for on the internet. You might also need scissors, a pencil, a camera phone or a camera, anything that allows you to upload to Canvas. And there is an optional tool as well. You can have an X-Acto knife if you have one, but just realize that you're going to need adult supervision to use it because they are very sharp and we want everybody to stay safe. So until next time, I can't wait to see what you guys create, and we'll see you then. Bye, guys. Still here. It's over. Go home. Actually, I guess you're already home. Well, I'm gonna go home. I'll see you guys.